Hey guys, so it's Cassie, and I've been in like a kind of a funk, and I was trying to navigate really what I'm feeling during this time, and I've been really hesitant to share about just what everyone's kind of like feeling. And so for a while, I know that like my story has been impactful to a lot of people because I went through the grieving process and I came out really healthy from it, and I used it to change my life, and that was really inspiring for people. And yet here I am, and everyone is grieving in this moment. And no matter if you agree with it or not, you are grieving in some way, whether it be in the fact that you've lost your job, you've broken up with people, there might actually be an actual death. And so to kind of like honor that and shed some light into how to really heal and experience this moment, especially when we're in the throes of something that none of us have ever experienced, dealing with a pandemic, and then we have social injustice, racial injustice. We have an economic standstill, basically. And just that we are all grieving that, and we all have to feel all those feelings. So I had to kind of tap back into what it was like for me when I lost my dad. And it was, and that's like obviously something I don't want to really dwell on and go back into, but I do believe that we don't experience the things that we experience in life so that we can't share them. I think we experience them so that we can grow and we can help other people to grow too. And so I'm stepping into that light to be able to share what I have learned through the process of grieving and healing, to maybe just help you guys during this time, because we're all experiencing grief and mourning and loss right now. It's just we're experiencing it in different percentages is the easiest way to think of it. It may not be as, you may be in a spot where it's gut wrenching and it feels like your heart is being ripped out through your stomach. And I've been there and I know that feeling. And it can feel like I'm just depressed and I don't know why I'm in this funk. And that's still loss. And none of it negates any of it. Just because someone experienced something, it doesn't make, basically, a death doesn't, yes, it is hard. But it doesn't negate that someone else is experiencing loss over a job or a relationship. They are all grief. They're just a different percentage and level of it. And so I was just thinking back, these are the things that really helped me to be able to work through grieving the traumatic loss of my dad, who was like my one support system, my like one family member. And as hard as that's been, but I was able to change my life. And so the biggest motto I have had through this whole thing, and I hope it encourages you, is that these circumstances may not be blessings. I'm never going to say that this was a blessing. The trauma that anyone experiences is a blessing. But I do believe that our hardest things that we've ever gone through we can be blessed through those moments. So losing my dad wasn't a blessing, but I've been really blessed through it. And so it was when I switched how I was thinking about my circumstances, and instead of being a victim, because we can all be victims. It's easy. It's the path of least resistance, and people would go, oh, I understand. But here's what victimhood would have looked like for me after I lost my dad. Victimhood would have been me ODing on drugs, and it would have been justified. Me being a victim would be losing my life for however many years because I'm drinking, and then when I wake up out of my stupor, whether it be 6 months, 6 years, or 60 years later, and being in that exact moment feeling all those feelings, that would have been justified. And I could have been a victim and had that victim mentality. I chose in the moment that my dad passed away that I would not be a victim. And you have that choice right now as well. You have a choice that you can choose to be a victim, or you choose to be proactive and be a fucking survivor. Because no one's gonna live your life except for you, period. End of story. No one is gonna come rescue you. And when I finally accepted that I have to own my actions, I have to own my life, I have to own my behavior, I have to own my thoughts, I have to own my feelings, there was so much freedom in it. So first step, if you are grieving, choose who you want to be. You want to be a survivor or do you want to be a victim? Now that we've chosen, if you are choosing to be a victim, this podcast, probably you're not going to get anything out of it because I'm not a victim. And I will never choose to be a victim. So if that is where your head is at, please continue because I think you'll get something out of this. But obviously if you're lazy and you don't want to put the work in, you're not going to find any benefits in my podcast. This is for the people that want to be proactive and want to be survivors. I'm speaking to you. So we've chosen that we want to be survivors. Cool. Now we got to choose to own our feelings and our thoughts, and we have to feel all the feels, no matter how shitty it is. You have to feel your feelings without numbing them out, without disregarding them, without pretending they don't exist. You have to feel them and in their entirety. There is no shame in it. Everything you are feeling in this moment is normal. There's some solace in that, but at the same time, when you are freaking out in your car, having mental breakdown, it's not extremely helpful to go, hey, this is normal. It is still, but now that you are feeling your feelings, you're choosing to feel them, you can choose to say, I am going to speak the truth into this moment. I'm going to honor my feelings that I am angry, I'm sad, whatever they are, I am lonely. Put a label on those feelings. And when you put a label on it, it disengages and takes the sting out and the power out of it and the fire and that energy. Because you can still honor it, but you don't have to be a victim to it because you're proactive and you're a survivor. There were moments where every 30 seconds I had to tell myself, I am okay. And there are going to be moments where you're going to have to just take a deep breath and you're going to go, I honor these feelings and I am going to be okay. And you just keep taking one little step forward every single day. So we've chosen to be a survivor. We have chosen to honor and feel our feelings in their entirety. And we have chosen to be survivors over our feelings and our thoughts. Because you have power over it. You are not a victim of yourself. This is work. It requires work. And it requires a spiritual practice, which means in its name, there's practice, which means you have to keep doing it over and over again. So one of the biggest tangible things you can take away from this is every morning, set a routine for yourself. So for me, it was I got up and I walked to the beach every single morning. So I walked 3 miles and I walked to the beach and I sat on that beach and I listened to like one podcast and I would pray or whatever you need to do. I'm a Christian. So I just would pray to God and I would just give it up to him. I definitely would complain about my circumstances, but I wouldn't blame anything on God. And I would just ask for clarity and I'd ask for strength. And then that was one day. And so every day I would wake up and go to the beach. And then the following week I'd add one more healthy thing on top of it. So then I started going to the gym every morning. And I would tell myself, this is for my brain. This is for my brain. This is for my mind. To relieve that stress and that anxiety and all that energy out of me. So I just kept layering all my goals one on top of each other every week. And I gave myself grace that I didn't have to create this huge list that became overwhelming of healthy things I needed to do for myself. Because you have to leave room for feeling your feelings. and you're going to have better days than others. But when I started implementing these small things that were just for me, and they were just for my health, and they weren't for anyone else, and I knew that I needed them, I was able to give myself room to breathe, basically. Because in the moment of having grief and anxiety and stress and everything that's going on right now, it feels suffocating. It feels like you can't see the end of the tunnel, and it just feels like days are just flying by. So by setting these intentional goals for myself and just creating little baby steps to get to my goals, I was realigning with the fact of my purpose, what I was going to make this, because we can all create a why for this stuff. So I started writing out my intentions in my journal. So every single morning, I had a constant reminder of what my day and what my life is going to look like for the rest of my life to get through this moment. So I didn't get caught up in my emotions and just get swept away. And when you keep realigning and creating your why, anything that doesn't line up with your why, you can say, that doesn't serve me. I'm not doing that. So we've said that we are survivors. We're going to be proactive. We're going to choose our thoughts and our feelings. We're going to honor those thoughts and feelings, but we're going to choose, label them, and then move on. Then we're going to set up a time for ourselves in the morning where we reconnect. They say that being out in nature is extremely healthy. It reconnects you with the world around you, which is 100% I believe. So go for a walk in the morning and then listen to a podcast that serves you. Then set up 15 minutes to journal and realign with your goals so that your intentions are set every single morning. And when you create this really cool structure, you leave this space to be really, really healthy. And that was the craziest thing going through the grieving process, is it was one baby step at a time. But then I was able to cope so much better because I was physically relieving the stress that I was feeling. But I was able to gain really a much better perspective over, okay, I'm feeling really sad. What is triggering me to feel so sad? And really honoring that. And then saying, okay, I see it. I feel it. Now I'm going to move on. And that was the biggest thing that has helped me through my grieving process, was just being able to give myself that space, but then not letting it consume me. And I was really blessed through just my dad passing away that I had really great examples of women that had either been defined by the grief and they're still wallowing in it, and they weren't survivors and they chose to be victims. And I was also able to see women that were very powerful, and that even though, yes, this shit has happened, I am not going to be defined by this. And so we're all grieving. We all have to give each other space because grieving looks a lot different for every single person. But what I do know is that no matter what, we are in charge of our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. What we do with them is up to us. So we have a choice to make, is if you want to be a victim and to be defined by this moment right now, or do you want to be a survivor and be proactive and be the boss over your thoughts and feelings? Because it just doesn't make sense to me to be completely controlled by our emotions. Our emotions don't make us money. Our emotions don't make us friends. They really are just these imaginary things that we feel. But why are we feeling them? So when we start taking that space of giving ourselves grace, of going, okay, I feel sad. I honor this. I see it. I'm going to move on. There's so much freedom in that. And it's really easy. It's a lot. I mean, it's hard. This is a hard moment for everyone. And it's hard for each of us individually, but it's hard for us collectively. And we just have to honor everyone for the journey and the path they are on, and not shame them for what they're going through. because we all make a choice as how we want to survive this moment right now. And I personally am not going to be a victim, and I'm going to be proactive, because I only have this one life to live, and I'm going to live it to the fullest. So if I'm living in fear, I'm not living to the fullest. If I'm living in anger, I'm not living in the fullest. If I'm living from a place of joy and healing, I think I am. And that's how I choose to live my life. And knowing that no one is going to live this life for you. No one. This is yours. This is yours to take. It is yours to live to the fullest. It's yours to make it successful. It's yours to do whatever greatness that you feel inspired to do. It is yours. So take it. Don't waste this time. Don't waste this time and look back 12 years from now and go, shit, I didn't do anything with this moment. Because at the end of the day, if this is your one life to live, this is your last day on earth, I don't want to be living it, wasting it, wallowing in my own self-pity. I mean, maybe give it 10 minutes and then let's go. So I hope that is encouraging for you guys. I try to have as much empathy as possible. But I definitely know, as someone that has always been very reactive instead of being proactive throughout my life, from using drugs and trying to numb it out, that this has been a huge shift for me to actually own my shit. And it hasn't been easy, but it's well worth how hard it is to own it. So follow me on Instagram. I'd love to see where you guys are at and if you guys have any questions or anything. But honestly, like, in this moment of grieving, please don't get caught up in all the other stuff. Turn off the fucking news. Just focus on yourself. We all know bad shit's happening in the world, period. But what we have control over are our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. And so we need to act. We need to be proactive with our feelings. We need to be proactive with our actions. And the only real control we have over everything that's happening in the world is that we can vote, which is an action. We can be good people and be the change we wish to see in the world, which is an action. And we have to live out our truths and what we believe and who we want to be, live that out and be proactive and live our lives to the fullest. Period. That is that's my motto. And just the other thing is give each other grace. Because God knows I need grace. And just not take anything personal from other people. That's another big one. That's a huge one. Especially when you're grieving, you want to take everything very, very personal. Don't take anything personal. Because most of the time, you are just a mirror for someone else's drama and what they're working through. And they're a mirror to us and what we need to work on. So if we stop taking things personal, there's a lot of freedom in that. So I hope you guys have a great day. Yeah. DM me and let me know if you have any stuff you want me to talk about.